because that's some crazy evil shit, and I'm in my pajamas, and I have no weapon.
I'm Austin.
And I'm Cloud.
This is We Watch Movies. This is We Watch Movies, and this week we watched It, which is a terribly non-descriptive title. The new one, if that helps. Do you remember when the segue was announced, like when they announced that they were going to announce what turned out to be the segue, and all they would call it was It? Like
No.
Back in like 2000?
No, because I knew I didn't have the money to buy one, and I didn't care about them.
No, you didn't, because you didn't know what it was.
I know.
They just said they were going to announce something.
And they were,
And
they segued into releasing the segue.
They were going to announce It, and it turned out to be the segue. So we're going to do that, but before we get to that, we have received mail that we have not dealt with for a couple of episodes just because of the way the sequencing worked. And so this is Dave again. We continue to hear from Dave, which is great.
Because Dave likes us.
Yeah. We'd like to hear from you too if you're not Dave as well, but we do enjoy hearing from Dave. I said to you that I think Dave is our podcast spirit animal now. Like, he just seems like, because he's, and some of this will come out in this email, like he's right, like he's thinking stuff that we're thinking that we haven't talked about yet, and we're like, maybe we should do this, maybe we should do that, and we're like, we're already thinking about that. So we're kind of thinking in the same directions. So although he's a little bit even more in line with you than he is me, because he's like really on board with all the monster movie stuff and everything.
Absolutely.
But so he does have some suggestions about various things, which are things that we were already kind of thinking about or talking about. And we're actually even gonna, I think, take a title of one of the types of episodes or a classification from a way that he worded something. He did mention specifically though that and this is kind of one of the things that we're maybe planning to do more of too. He because we didn't have a new episode, not actually, by the time you're hearing this episode, there's been a week where there wasn't an episode, or almost a week. But then there was another one a couple of weeks ago before the Crocodile Dundee episode. And so he was listening to older stuff that he hadn't listened to, I guess, or maybe to stuff again to fill the time when there wasn't a new one. And he went back and listened to the Deep Star 6 episode, which is way, way back now. I think it's in the 40s probably, or something, maybe 50s.
Something like that.
Watch it be like way higher than that, and I just don't even remember what we were doing. But
well, we know that the first 26 episodes were the A through Z, and then we did the 1 through 9.
Oh yeah, because that was the one to make it actually 6. So yeah, so it is right in there in the 30s somewhere. But so he listened to it without having actually seen the movie, but he wants to see the movie now. So I've been kind of, I mean, I played that little piece of a thing back on the 100th episode that I recorded for the first episode, and then nobody ever heard, about us not explaining anything, because we expect you to, we're all sitting on the couch after we watch a movie and we're just talking about it, and we expect you to have watched it already. But apparently, even if you haven't, you can still enjoy it, and it made him want to actually go and watch the movie. But he says he enjoyed how we compared it to The Abyss, because they were similar things and they came out at a similar kind of time, and that we should do more of that kind of thing. Like, and we do mention fairly commonly the sort of Deep Impact, Armageddon, Volcano, Dante's Peak kind of syndrome. White House Down, Olympus Has Fallen. Like, it happens all the time.
All the time.
And so
TMNT, The Amazing Spider-Man.
I don't think that counts.
It's the same fucking story.
Well, it's the same story, yeah, but it isn't comparative types of movies. Um, and so yeah, I do enjoy doing things like that too. And we do have some plans for having multiple movies on an episode, or comparing those kinds of things. I know we're going to, one of them that we've already mentioned is that we're going to do Antitrust before we do The Circle.
Oh God.
So that won't be like a direct, they came out 20 years apart, so it's not a direct comparison, but like some of those things are, but it's still a comparative thing. And but he also says that he would like to hear us do episodes on what he terms ultra classics, which is capitalized, but I don't think it's intentional, because I think he says, no, wait, this isn't the one. That was the other one. So I don't know if that was deliberate or not. Ultra is capitalized, because he sent 2 emails like back to back, or like on consecutive days, and one of them he mentioned he was voice to text dictating. And so he was worried about its coherence, and so he sent a second one. It was the coherence was on the first one was fine, Dave. So, but
I wonder if his ultra classics is the same thing as my legacy films.
I don't know, because I'm not really that sure about what you were talking about with that. But I mean, he mentions things like, just things that are meant to be really classic movies, and things like Jaws, and although because he's leaning in sort of a sci-fi monster movie direction, but he doesn't anchor it just to that, but that just seems to be what he's interested in. So yeah, so we are considering doing such things as that, and even like things, Jaws is of course a classic, but even more classic things than that, like Gone with the Wind, or maybe like one of the Godfather movies or something. Because I think maybe if we're just going to be this voice of what we think about stuff, then we shouldn't necessarily just limit it to and we try not. I mean, we've always said that the point is not to just do oddball stuff no one has ever heard of, or just do major stuff, or just do stuff that's terrible, or any particular kind of thing, but just to be all over. The title is really non-specific. It's just movies. If it's a movie, then we'll probably watch it. And and also then he sent another one where apparently he found the Crocodile Dundee episode front to back phenomenal and hilarious, which I find somewhat difficult to believe, because we got like really like millennials today and they're not caring about 9/11 in the last 15 minutes or so. So I don't know if that part was hilarious as well, but
when you say it like that, it seems like it's one of those comments that you find on the cover of a DVD. Front to back.
Oh, front to back phenomenal. Yeah. Yeah, I do. I've got some interesting ones of those on the cover of DVDs of movies that are coming up in the schedule too, so we'll read those off when we get to them. There's some really goofy stuff. But so that's all of that. If you want Dave to not be the only one that gets talked about on the show, or gets us told what we think, what he thinks. I don't know why I can't talk. I haven't even been drinking this episode. What is happening?
Noticed.
I can't talk. You noticed I can't talk? You noticed
yes.
I haven't been drinking? Okay, because I was like, how did...
Maybe you should.
Maybe I should. I don't know. Words, I know.
You'll get to use them.
Yeah.
Good words, bad words, new words, old ones, or old words, good words.
Oh, and also
stupid words.
Tomahawk words.
Free! Yeah, free, motherfucker.
And now, our feature presentation.
This week's movie is It, Chapter 1. It is a 2017 supernatural drama horror film directed by Andy Muschietti, I think. Based on the Stephen King story, of course. Starring Jaden Lieber and Bill Skarsgård. because apparently the rest of the kids aren't important enough. How about a plot synopsis?
Well, in a supposedly cursed town, something wakes up. It every 27 years eats a whole bunch of people. Things about floating, kids looking for a missing kid, crazy ass illusions, child rape, bullies, sewer trekking, whatever, haunted house, and no orgies. Thank you.
No.
You know, I just wish Stephen King would admit that he was just really high on cocaine and for a moment forgot they were kids, wrote that orgy in, and then when someone called him out on it, he would just admit to it, man. Like, hey, I was writing this, I had this in mind, I was high on cocaine, I messed up, but the book's still good. Sorry.
It wasn't cocaine, it's too late for cocaine.
Oh. Really? He just keep the cocaine excuse. Like that'd still be better because they're like all 11. They're 11. Like this is weird.
12, I think. Because the Jewish kid turns 13 because he gets his bar mitzvah.
Oh, that's right.
Thing. So that means he's like 13 by. Actually, no, wait. Maybe he was still doing cocaine, because I know he was doing cocaine during the writing of Tommyknockers, and that is the year just immediately after. So, okay, yeah, maybe it was cocaine. But so, yeah, so this thing, this is it, which is receiving much praise from many people. And
I can understand why.
And many people exiting the theater with... Now, this is probably too much story to actually explain, so, but I want to say it anyway, just so you know. I guess I'll explain a little bit, so I can.
If you want the full story, click the link down below.
After the jump, people used to say, and continued to say until way after it made any sense, because it was like, after the jump. Next line of text is the rest of it. It's like, there's nothing in between. You're doing it wrong. You can't use this phrase anymore. I know you've been using it for like 5 years, but the internet has moved on underneath you. So get with it. Stop with your view counter at the bottom of the page while you're at it too. But when we were in college, the first practical test that we had where you had to actually do something that anybody was seriously concerned about was after the first month of lighting class, and you had to go into the stage a few at a time and do this series of things, and they would grade you on it, and then you would and everybody else was waiting in line outside the stage, and so we would see the people that had completed it and then wait your turn to get in. And it's still, except for now the most like horrified and dejected and beaten down that I've ever seen that many people at the same period of time look like. Like it really, not to be insensitive or anything, but it's almost like people walking out of a POW camp or something like that after like 15 years. That's what it looked like. It was just people wide eyes and just cast down faces and not making eye contact with anyone and just looking like they just like, no, you have to set up this light while I beat you with a cat of nine tails, like but you can't tell anybody that's what happened. And also like we're strangling puppies in front of you, and it was just the most horrible looks I've ever seen on people's faces until watching people walk out of the theater for this. And it's not everybody.
That's glorious.
But a lot of people just wide eyes and like looking at you and just, looking from side to side. And I'm like, I'm just going to say right out in front of this, I wasn't scared at any point.
No, like I wasn't scared either, but like I had these moments of like uneasiness because like the movie does a really good job setting something up that you think might happen and then it doesn't. And then it'll have moments where things will happen and you wouldn't realize they were going to happen. And then, of course, there's the obvious build-ups and then payoffs that we expected. One of them is whenever the mouthy kid who doesn't like clowns is in the room with the clowns, and like we see their heads move. Like, see, that's an uneasy kind of thing. But then like he opens it up and there's the Pennywise isn't in there. But it's like a mannequin of him, because I guess maybe that's one of his real fears, is him going missing.
I guess. Well, it is at that point. I don't know if it ever was before, but
then like, oh, okay. And then he closes it. And then I expected like Pennywise to be like right there fucking behind him. And it's like, nope. And it was just a brief calm moment before like the coffin burst back open, and then Pennywise just kind of jumps out.
Yeah. But it's just like, I mean, it's rated R. And there's some like blood and stuff, the bathroom especially, but even that's almost like it's so extreme and outrageous that it isn't particularly like, oh, I can't believe all this blood, I'm horrified, this must be rated R. It seems like most of it is the language.
Yeah,
the actual violence and the horror of it, at least to me, was not that extreme. So it almost seems like it didn't even have to be. Like, if they just didn't swear so much, then we wouldn't have been having so much trouble with people trying to sneak into it or worrying about how much money it could make and stuff.
And I think that's kind of funny because when we watched this, we were in the theater alone. And, there'd be times where I'm allowed to be a little more expressionate of, since I don't have to worry about disturbing all of the other patrons. But I really like most of these kids because they kind of remind me of how kids were when I was their age. And so if you're watching this and you're thinking, oh, these kids, they say such horrible, foul language. Like, yeah, they do.
I know. And I'm not saying it isn't realistic, but you don't necessarily have to have as much of it if it would let you get away with a lower rating.
Yeah.
Because it's not like I don't even think it's necessarily that controversial anymore. No. Just the little bit that they had in stuff like the Goonies and the Sandlot, people were just like, how can they have kids say these things? And actually, I guess even the beginning of E.T., which is not going to be the last time we mention E.T. in this episode.
Boy.
But even that was kind of shocking to people, and Spielberg was like, but that's how kids talk.
Like, so kids are like that.
So it's what do you want me to do? And Stephen King has always been very insistent about that you don't just make something foul or use language or make it more violent than it has to be, but if that's how you hear it in your head when you're writing it, when you're digging up the fossil, as he puts it, then you have to be honest and put it the way that it seems like it should be, and not self-censor because you think someone might be offended by it.
Yeah,
and
I can stand by that.
I don't necessarily hold it against the people making the movie either, but it just seems like that's most of the reason for the R. Although when you have stuff like Leap coming out, getting a PG rating for what it terms as impolite humor. Like, it's not crude humor. It's not rude humor. It's impolite. PG. It's ridiculous. But so I don't know. Maybe just blood everywhere. I was reminded a lot of I think it's the first Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah.
With the and I wondered if they did it the same, because the way they did it back then was they built the set upside down, and so Johnny Depp is strapped to the bed, and so then they can just pour the blood from underneath the bed, and it falls and splatters everywhere, and you don't have to use any pressure. And the way the effect looked a lot like that in this. I don't know if that's what they did or if they have better ways to do it.
Like with the hair wrapping around her to kind of hold her in place. Like, if they did, it seems like it would fit really well, because like she had already cut her hair.
Yeah.
And she's already holding on to something. So it looks like she's stuck in that position anyways.
Yeah. So I don't know. Okay. So I said I wasn't ever scared. That's true, but I do think that it's very well made. Like, it looks
absolutely,
amazing,
it's beautiful,
and there's
like,
some really artistic kind of stuff. Even just the beginning scene in the rain, where just how using like straight overhead stuff, tracking along, and all the just how it even just shooting in the dark and rain and having it look impressive like that is not a super easy thing to do either. So
like, this is like 10 out of 10 cinematography.
It
this
looks
is good shit.
It looks great. And it may just be that because I'm not afraid of clowns, that the clown part of it itself, like, I guess if you're scared of clowns, then regardless of the rest of it, it's going to be like, oh, there's a clown.
Yeah.
And so, big wide saucer eyes. But when we'll come back to the clown being the scary part, not being the scary part later also. But it just, the amount of extreme reaction that I was seeing from people, I expected it to just be like, you just can't even, just like you're fighting to stay in your seat and not walk out because you're so terrified. And it's like, that wasn't
the case. No.
That was not the case. But yes, the kids. I do like the kids. I like all the kids. I think the kids are great. I think they seem really natural. They seem like real kids. And
it's like, I was sitting there thinking, oh my God, they had actual kids being actual kids in a movie that's revolving around actual kids. This is insane.
Yeah. But as the counterpoint to that, I think I either greatly dislike to hate with intensity every adult in the movie.
What adults in the movie?
Everyone that there is. The very few that there are. They all suck as characters.
Like 3?
Yeah.
4. No, there's 4. Because there's the police officer, there's the librarian.
Yeah, I guess the librarian is fine.
The mom, and then the guy at the pharmacy.
And the dad and the granddad. I guess the granddad is okay. He just wants his kid to tough up. But like the dad of what is her character's name?
Oh yeah, that dad too.
He's just like, who? And I think that it is largely damaging to the overall thing. Like, you don't need everybody but the kids to be a bad guy character, because the evil presence that sometimes manifests as Pennywise is enough of a villain.
Yeah.
It doesn't. All it does is make it like, but really? Like, all of this? And I think it weakens the we must save the town, because really you could just like get all the kids together and like, I don't care about anybody else in the town because they all seem to suck. Like, all of you people suck. Like, the mom sucks, and it's just like, I do wonder about the police dad, because he kind of puts the fear into his son. But where has he been the entire rest of his life that he's let him bully the whole town up until this moment?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, that because whenever we get like our first real scene where they're at school and it's been that year.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, school's out for the summer, and what's his face is like, oh, I would have pick on kids because I'm a douchebag. Mm-hmm. And then they pan over and his dad's there watching. So I'm guessing we're supposed to already know that his dad's not for it. And then they talk about losing his dad's knife and his dad's going to kill him. So I'm believing it's just one of these things, like maybe there is no mom. And so
it doesn't seem to be.
And so like the kid's not getting the kind of nurturing attention that he should be. So he's become a douchebag, but his dad doesn't tolerate any of that shit. So when his dad's not around, he acts like a douchebag. And when his dad is around, he acts like a pussy.
Yeah. But, well, I don't even, is it clear that that's his dad when the police just sort of look down their sunglasses at him? It doesn't,
like they don't make any comment about
it's just police. And also, we know that there are 2 cops in town, at least, because there's the dad, and then we never see the other one again.
No.
And then he kills his dad, and so then it's like, oh, well, there's no police for the rest of the movie. Not that there really
How
were
is there
anyway,
only
but
one police officer in town anyways?
I don't know. I mean, I guess Derry is not like a giant town, but we see many different parts of it, and they've got a nice-sized Main Street kind of area. It seems like you got to have at least 4 cops in a town, because you got to have 2 for 2 shifts. So even like tiny towns in Texas where there's like 1,100 people and there's 4 streets, like there's still 2 or 3 cops. So Yeah, yeah, there's got to be some more police. Not that they would have helped,
Not in
because
this movie.
all the adults suck, but it's just and just like the mom and like the dad, the creepy dad, like rapist dad is.
Well, like that's what he is. Like he rapes his daughter.
But why? And
Because
like,
some
why
people are
do we...
fucked up like that.
Well, no, but I mean, it just doesn't.
I guess it needs to give her a reason to always want to get out of the house, the apartment, something. I don't know.
guess.
Now, I don't know if this is even in the original book. I don't know, like that type of tone, how much it's pushed. Because, God, it's been forever since I've had anything to do with it. But that's something like this isn't something I remember from any of the past experiences.
Mm.
It was just like the group of loser kids, and then there's the girl that there's rumors about, and then they hang out during the summer, and then, oh shit, evil man-eating clown.
Well, the thing about the book and they decided to split it into 2 movies, and then the miniseries version of it's in 2 halves, and so they did it in a similar way. But in the way the book is written is it switches back and forth between the kids during the original encounter and then the kids as adults coming back to fight it again, and you flop back and forth. And so you have the adults in the book are mostly the same people as the kids, because they're the ones that's happening in the present time and then also in the past. And I don't really remember much about it and how much of the parents are pulled from the book, but it's like a 1,300 page book, so something has got to be in the space. But the thing, I guess I'll just go ahead and while I'm already, because I don't want to say like, but the book, because the books don't matter, because it's the movie. The movie has to exist as the movie.
We are not. We watch books.
We know
Podcast.
But the the closest we've gotten to that is Body of Lies, because like I said then, like it for somehow we did do Body of Lies, didn't we? Yeah, we did. That it feels the most like reading a book that I've ever seen in a movie, and I haven't even read the book version of it, but it just has that sort of feeling to it. But the thing that I think has been missing from both the miniseries and from this, that's part of what makes it kind of less scary, and people take away this even more extremely than it's even there, is that people's perspective of it is that it's about a clown, or like a demon thing shaped like a clown or something. And that's not what it is. It's like an ancient evil presence that's been around since ancient times, and it's almost like a miniature manifestation of sort of like evil with a capital E at the beginning. And people really hate on the towards the end of the book, part of the resolution is that the turtle that holds up the world from mythology, although it isn't literally holding up the world now, but the world turtles do exist in reality, apparently, and from time to time, good and evil with capital letters have a conflict to see how the universe stays for a while, and that's the 27 years thing. And so the world turtle. What does that have to
do with the fucking turtles?
But the world turtle, turtles all the way down. It's a turtle, the world on the back of a turtle.
There's turtles in the pond. There's the Lego turtle.
Yeah, well, see, that's the thing. They sprinkle the turtle stuff in there because everybody's scared to death to do the actual ending, because people hate it so much from the book because they don't understand, because they think that it's about a clown, and it's not. It's about evil force, like ancient evil force that sometimes appears to people as a clown because it's convenient and because lots of people are scared of clowns, but it also manifests as a bunch of other stuff, and it's just this evil force, and that's what makes no sense the way this one ends, except that they're making the second one and that they're going to have to fight him again 27 years from now. That just because you stab Pennywise in the head with a thing doesn't kill it, because Pennywise is not the evil force. That's why there's a distinction between calling it and Pennywise, because Pennywise is only one of the faces of it, and it's called it because we don't really know what it is. It's just some vaguely evil force. And so the world turtle, as one of the physical manifestations of capital G good, is the only thing powerful enough to beat back the capital E evil force of it. And so it's just a local manifestation of the larger capital E evil, and that just happens to reside underneath Derry because of it's kind of both ways in that bad stuff happens in Derry because it is there, but it is also there because bad stuff happened in Derry before, and so there was like evil energy, I think. Most of this is really vague and I don't remember a lot of the details, so some of this may be wrong. But so having it be like, we've got to go down into the sewer and fight the clown is not as scary because it's not a clown, or it's not the weird Van Gogh painting face thing, which why does the rabbi guy have a painting that creepy in his office?
I don't know. Like, I don't, but personally, now this is a personal preference kind of thing. I don't like paintings like that. Like, they just look silly to me. Like, it doesn't look creepy. It doesn't even look weird. It just looks like, really, it's like, let's smoke some bath salts and then watch some Bob Ross paint happy people. But I am so fucked up that, like, I drew it sideways while attached to the ceiling out in my backyard.
Yeah.
And my hand is bleeding.
I'm not a big fan of surrealism or impressionism either. So I mean, I appreciate Van Gogh as one of the great painters, but I just don't care much for his style.
Well, the thing is, like, they don't look like no Van Gogh I've ever seen.
No, it's not. But that's just it's a surrealistic style painting.
Bullshit.
But of course, maybe that's not what's normally in the painting, and maybe that's because it is empty later because the thing is actually in the room. But I don't know if that's just because it manifested that way, or if usually there's something else in the painting instead of that creepy thing. I would hope it's that, because otherwise, weird rabbi is
why are
weird.
you still using the same image over and over for something that happened once?
But so having it be the big evil force that you can't really fight because they don't know that the capital G good world turtle is going to come and help them eventually. You can't really fight it. You just try to fight it and you try to fight it, and there's nothing you can do because you just
try to stay alive.
You're just
There's
humans, and and you're just trying not to.
Well, I'll give them credit. They did it.
You might die.
So
I'll give them credit. They did a damn good job.
Did they?
Yeah.
Because they don't really. I mean, some of splitting the story in half, where they haven't found out the rest of the stuff and they haven't read more of the history because they've had another almost 30 years to study it. Some of the, like, there's no way to get some of that in because the kids don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, he's read it's Ben. Is it Ben?
I think it's Ben.
Fat kid. He reads all of the documents in the library and the historical records and the books and stuff. And so he knows as much as he could find out from there, but nobody has ever really found out much, it doesn't seem.
Well, I'm talking about the fact that not only did these kids survive,
but they pushed it. They did
back.
survive, but
because we didn't know when it was going to end. It's just every 27 years, but for how long? Like, when this thing kicks in, how long are we going to have to hide in fear of this thing? And it's like, nope, this son of a bitch killed my brother like a year ago, and I'm going to go kick its ass. And then they did.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they nutted up, took some bars, and beat the shit out of it.
But I'm not sure how much of that is them and that it was just time for it to go away again. And so they caught it at a weak moment.
Well, they do make comments like that. It's like, oh, you can't eat on us now. Whack.
Yeah.
Now, that's something else that I kind of thought about, is because I know it's going to come back. Like, they don't actually win. They just buy themselves some time. Mm-hmm. But whenever it does go down into that second part of the well, you know, like, it's backing up and then it like flips over, and we get the camera, and the camera is over it at just an angle, and it looks like there's something down there that's like looking up. Like, maybe like more of the whole of the capital E evil, and that the Pennywise is just like a physical part of it, and it's just returning back to like the whole part.
Yeah, well, that's and
like,
what
and you could see it. Like, it's like if they jumped in, like, it probably would have ate them or some shit. But, you know, I'm just saying, like, it looked like there was something there for just a moment when they had that angle.
Yeah. I mean, if you've played Alan Wake or read the novelization, which is not that great, because it's more like, let's describe what happened at the game rather than telling the story in a novel format. It's a pretty weak novelization. But there's a number of Stephen King and various other influences in the story of Alan Wake, and one of them is this sort of dark evil force that it is up where some of the dark presence under Cauldron Lake that is kind of just a tentacle of larger evil in the world, or that wants to be larger evil in the world and has been somehow confined into the darkness under Cauldron Lake for some period of time. But that's what the "it's not a lake, it's an ocean" thing after the end of the credits means, is it's not just this little bit of darkness under the lake. There's really darkness everywhere. And so it's much worse than he thought. And that's what I think that's probably right, that there is just sort of one little bit of it that's underneath the well, and it spreads out much larger than that. I didn't notice that in the whole, but
well, it's because and at the beginning, whenever Georgie went into the cellar, and then there was like what looked like eyes,
yeah,
but were just light bulbs. It's like it was like something like that, only further spread, like it fit better in that lower well.
Yeah. Probably everybody has heard this by now, but because it's been everywhere. But you notice how sometimes Pennywise's eyes are like, one is kind of like looking over this way, and they're not centered with each other. Like, that was something they wanted to do, but they thought they were going to have to CG it, and then Bill Skarsgård said, "I can do that. Like, we can just do it live in the scene. You don't have to do it later." And so apparently Bill Skarsgård can kind of like angle one eye off that way, which is kind of creepy, but and ordinarily not useful if you're not playing Pennywise. So
yeah. Or you're trying to fuck up someone's buzz at a party.
Yeah, it's just like
have a conversation with somebody you don't like, and
one eye just drifts over that way.
Buzz gone.
I don't know if the extreme one that it does the one time where it just goes like way out to the opposite sides, I don't know if he could actually do that, but just the off-centeredness is for real.
Now, something else. This is one of the problems I have with Georgie. Now, when the movie starts, we have the older brother in bed and he's sick. And that kind of stuff happens. And he's making a paper boat. He's like, hey, you got to go into the cellar and you got to get the wax. You got to put the wax on it if you want it to float. We'll get to the floating later. And then the mom's just fucking just down there playing the most depressing ass piano music fucking ever while it's raining. It's dark. Like, Mom, can you get your shit together and play something good? Play something cheerful and, turn on some fucking lights. It's dark around here.
Yeah.
Do you not even pay attention to your kid? Like, your youngest, smallest kid just fucking going outside in the middle of the rain? Now, maybe...
What is Georgie got to be, like 6 or 7 or something?
Not old enough?
Yeah.
Because that's the thing. Like, if it's the older one, like, okay, 11, 12, whatever, a little more responsible. Probably going to go hang out with his friends. So it's not just going to be him by himself. But it's fucking like your youngest, smallest child just is going to play in the fucking rain. Not in the front yard, not in the backyard, just in the fucking roads, man. Like, what is up with that? And then you have the lady, and I'm not blaming her for this because it's not her kid. She may know who it is, whatever. I'm just saying. But when you see the kid looking into the sewer line, and you're just going to, like, just stare at him for a second. Honestly, my natural reaction is like, hey, kid, don't fuck around that area. You don't need to be falling in.
Hey, kid. And then she is still there on the porch for the whole time.
She walks off. She walks off
to the other side of the porch.
The kid like gets sucked in, and then she goes back over and notices there's
no
what
kid.
Looks like blood there instead of a kid. Now, for the kid part, he's more afraid of his brother killing him for not returning a boat
that he just made out of paper. Mm-hmm.
And I'm sorry, but even when I was young, I didn't think like that. It was a value kind of thing. Like, you have a notebook full of potential boats, and the wax isn't even yours.
No.
It's probably Dad's.
And they had plenty of it.
Yeah. And so there's that. But like okay. So you're being put in that situation where there's a fucking clown in the fucking sewer holding your boat, and he's talking to you kind of like this, and like, no, thank you. Have a good day, sir. I hope you get out of that sewer, and I'm gonna fucking walk my ass home.
Yeah.
Because that is probably the scariest part that the Pennywise visual is used in.
Yeah, it's the only time that he's actually creepy or unsettling.
Yeah, the rest of it's
time
like,
is
hey,
just-
I like how you're trying to do that, how you're trying to scare that kid because you're hiding behind that mass of fucking balloons that's so, symmetrically angled in a pyramid shape that just disappears with everything.
No
Hey,
human
that's
would hold
kind of
balloons like
cool.
this.
And you look a little weird. But no, you being right there at the entrance to the sewer, that is creepy.
Mm-hmm.
And as a little kid, I would figure your fight or flight senses would be like 90% get the hell out of Dodge.
Mm-hmm.
And then whenever the clown man holding your boat starts sounding really raspy, like, nah, I need to go back home. Talk to mom and dad about this shit.
Well, and we know he's a jumpy kid anyway,
Yeah.
because he's scared to go down to the cellar where there isn't a literal creepy clown hiding in the dark. So it is weird how much Georgie is like, this is all right. Like and also, wait, I didn't tell you my name, because he says his name to him first, and I know it says it on the boat, but he doesn't know that the boat is the same. He could have named the boat whatever. It doesn't mean that because the boat is the SS Georgie that's the kid's name too. He only knows because he's magic. So.
Yeah. Well, because they have that little exchange,
Yeah.
Pennywise. Nice to meet you, Georgie. Georgie, Pennywise. Pennywise, Georgie.
Yeah, we're not
and then he
strangers,
says his
but-
brother's name.
Yeah.
Your brother will kill you if you don't give this back. And then fucking bites his arm off. Like,
Yeah.
God damn.
Which, yeah, even that, like, the stuff with the teeth, like, sure, that's like, whoa, that's weird teeth. But
Now, I'm going to admit, that's fucking awesome. Like, that is. Like, I like stuff like that. Because if someone who looks like a person opens up their mouth and does, like, this whole layer upon layer of teeth thing to you, that's very unsettling. Like, that's not a real person. That's probably Invasion Body Snatchers level shit.
Mm-hmm. And then I know people were sort of questioning whether they would do something as shocking as actually have Georgie's arm get bit off like it is in the book, because they didn't do it in the miniseries.
No.
Because it's on ABC or somewhere, and so they can't do it on TV. And so then they did do it, but even it is still like, sure, the kid's arm gets bit off, but it's still not especially graphic, because
Well, you
most of
don't
the blood
see
goes
anything.
away in the rain. You don't really see it actually happen. You just see him with
No
most
arm.
of his arm missing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just
And-
like, hey, I'm kind of yelling, and it looks like my arm's gone because my coat jacket sleeve is tore up.
Yeah. And it's a good effect too.
Oh,
It
yeah.
looks like his arm is gone, but
And they pulled the same thing back, only without the bleeding part of it. Like later, whenever they're at the location of the collection of shit. I don't know. Is that just supposed to be belongings to the kids that he's killed?
I guess so. But it's some big, it's like heavy looking stuff,
Yeah.
and like stuff I wouldn't think kids would just be. I mean, a lot of it's like bicycles and coats and
Well,
things,
one of the
but-
things that in the research they talked about, like all these little events, and then there was like the circus or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's when the kid's in the library, and that's when he's run into the guy with no head holding the eggs. But that kind of
Yeah,
business.
the Easter explosion.
Yeah, and I was thinking, I don't know why the clown was chosen to be the main manifestation. Like that, like where people see a clown before they see anything else. Like it's
Mhm.
like I always revert back to the clown because the clown is the base body. But I wonder if it has to do something with that event.
I think so,
Like, what
because
if there
that's
was-
this earliest original trauma that causes the manifestation of the evil force at that location. Because the 1908 thing is the first event he can find where a bunch of people died, because it's only 30 years or something after the town was found. Well, no, actually it's not. It's the next one after the original founders disappeared.
Yeah.
And
Because that's what I was thinking. It's like, so like it'd probably just eat off the founders because there's no major technology. There's no lights. You having to do everything by torch and candle. Everybody doesn't have that layer of communication. So it's probably a lot easier to pick people off.
And it's only, what was it, like 30 people or what did you say, 60 something people?
Yeah. Circus in town, like the circus is going to have like weird visuals and stuff. And a clown definitely stands out.
Yeah, but Pennywise was a real clown apparently because he was on the side of the wagon thing or train car or whatever from the circus, and he shows up he's in the pictures from 1908 before the explosion. So, and I don't know if that's like the spirit in the pictures or if it's the original Pennywise because it's before the explosion or what. But,
well, see, that's something else that kind of makes me wonder because because we're basing it solely off this movie, just this movie. But Pennywise has plenty of dialogue.
Yeah.
And not all of it's just like taunting kind of, I'm going to say threatening kind of things to you. Some of it's just actual back and forth level dialogue. And it makes me wonder, like, if you were to have called him out, you see him and you call him out to talk to him. Do you think he'd talk to you? Like, if you had questions for him, be like, yo, man, is that what you really look like? Like, what are you? Like, blah, blah, blah. Like, give me some info, brah. Do you think he would? Because, he did talk to Georgie. Georgie.
He did, but it was still just to influence him.
Yeah. But he still did it.
Although that's a weird sort of like, that's for our benefit kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because, because because fear is a negative emotion, I guess, then it sort of feeds off of the fear and before the actual, like, I suck your soul out part. Like, it wants to create fear. And so I guess maybe if you're nice at first and then suddenly you turn not nice, then it's a more intense fear reaction, and so it's more food in a way.
I wonder if that
otherwise
actually
he
does
could just
count
reach
as
out and
fear.
just grab him. But
I wonder if that really does count as fear. Because, if you're being fucking eaten and your arm's being tore off,
well, you're afraid, but
yeah, but I'm just talking about like that whole jump scare factor, like, because like these kids, like later on, like these kids know what's up.
Yeah.
That's why, like, even though he's thrashing about and he opens his mouth and fucking arms come out and, like, yeah, that's kind of spooky, kind of scary, but it's not scary enough to just lose my shit over.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing is that it's not clear from the movie, but it's not just kids. Like, it could be anybody. Like, he would make anybody afraid and kill anybody. And like there were kids that were killed by the explosion because the circus happened to be close to the steel works, but there were also steel workers killed, and the founders weren't children. No. So it could be anybody. It's kids in this case, and some of the time, because kids are easier to influence or to lure off or to scare in order to get fear as the reaction and to get it as food.
Now, that's something else would be, is this solely fear-based, or are there going to be other influences? Because we do run into the douchebag bully kid who is somehow manipulated into actually killing his father and then attempting to kill the other children.
Yeah.
And while having that guy kind of hunt the kids down, because that would cause fear. Now the kids realize they're not only being hunted by this clown demon thingy, but also by, like, the local town bully.
Yeah. Which they don't actually know.
Not until it's too late.
But yeah. So it's not like they're being hunted around.
But it's the fact that it got the kid to Henry, I believe, to kill his own father by fucking manipulating the TV. That was some crazy shit.
Yeah, which happens several times to other people, but it's just sort of in passing, or we walk through a room where it's on and nobody ever, like, murders anybody else.
Because for some reason, every adult is always asleep in their living room with the TV on.
Yeah, because the adults are useless except for when they're actively sucking. And so they're either just not around. We go through so much of the movie where it's just like, look, street in the town, no people, except the kids. There's just no people. There's no one around. But Yeah, that weird kids show thing which actually is kind of unsettling because she's doing the like happy fun time
going into
voice,
the
but she's
sewer,
saying
following
evil
the flow.
things.
Yeah.
And so it's like you could just kill your father and it would be just a good time. And it's like, so just
What?
the dichotomy of that is has some effect. But
Well, like I kind of want to know how with the kids, like, because they actually had to create that. They had to create that, so there were kids there, and I want to know how those kids felt with like this guy dressed up as Pennywise sitting there with them behind that lady. So when she fucking gets up and he's right there, because like they have played that a lot through the movie. Like anytime there's a TV, that always seems to be what's on. But just having the scene where the lady moves because we actually pay enough attention to it. There's Pennywise, but then thinking about like real life, having to film that scene because Pennywise doesn't look like a happy clown that wants to give you some balloons and some cotton candy and some cuddles and shit. No, he really does look like he wants to eat your face off.
yeah. Yeah, because even when he doesn't have the multi rows of teeth, he still has like a big, like almost fang kind of thing in the center.
Yeah.
And so yeah, he doesn't look friendly, which is strange because that's what he looks like on the circus wagon, also. So,
yeah.
But they're
fucking old circuses were
hardcore, not very nice looking real clowns. So even the one that we see at the festival. Yeah. In the actual town, it doesn't look like super evil or anything, but it doesn't look real friendly. So
yeah, well, I mean, like, there's not many clowns that have that uber positive look to them. That's just like a general kind of look of a clown. White, super white, porcelain looking skin with like big red circles on your cheeks and maybe a rubber nose, maybe a big curly wig, some stuff like that. But no, Pennywise doesn't fit that category even in the slightest.
No, a lot of it's the forehead.
Yeah, that and then the white on black contrast.
Yeah. I was trying to find because I recognize that guy, but
all right, something that I hate.
Yeah.
Now, I don't hate it in the movie as much as I hate it in general. Guys, it's the summer. We're supposed to be out having fun. We know. But, just like every one of us here, each individual interaction with this thing, we all know, regardless of the time of year, or what we could be doing, this thing is after us. And it will continue to be after us until some undetermined amount of time. Why not do something about it now while you have the chance?
Yeah.
And it's that level of thinking where it's like cowardice, but it's like stupid cowardice. We're cowardly and we don't want to do anything about it, but we're more lazy and cowardly because we want to do something else other than what is going to help save us.
Yeah, I mean, I guess maybe it's time to, because I said we would come back to E.T., but I think that the sort of difference between the real Spielberg kids having to do things because the adults can't do it or don't know what's going on enough to do it or something, and the kids have to take over. The difference between that in a real, like, it's actually Spielberg doing it and Abrams trying to do it in Super 8 or in a similar kind of story in this case, is that you don't have to, like, the adults don't have to be stupid. and they don't have to be the bad. They don't have to be trying to be the bad guys. Like if you look at ET, that they're not. The adults aren't the bad guys. They're just doing the best they know how to do with the information that they have, and it turns out that it isn't actually the right thing, but they just don't know, and so the kids have to take over and they have to fix everything, and also that the kids, once they realize, oh, no one else is going to do anything, we have to do this. You don't have to spend any time on the, well, now we're going to fight about whether we should actually do this scene, like multiple times where we keep trying to give up. It's like, no, you can't give up. Like no one goes into what looks like the house from Monster House and goes through that and it's like, we can just, why don't we just let it be summer instead of continuing to do something about not getting killed.
Well, like the first time is good because they haven't reached that level of experience or knowledge of the situation. It's just like, hey, I just want to play some Street Fighter at the arcade.
Yeah.
Hey, yeah, like I do too. But I don't want to have to like look over my shoulder every so often because mysteriously the arcade's now quiet and I'm all that's left. And wouldn't you fucking know it? It's right behind me and it's going to try and bite my face off.
Yeah, because it's happened to each person more than once before they even go to the house. And then they go to the house and then they see what's really going on. Although they went to the house with no plan at all.
What happened to the kid? No, what was the event that happened to the kid? The mouthy kid with that wanted to play Street Fighter at the arcade. Like, what event happened to him? He's the only one I don't remember something happening to.
The one with the glasses.
And not the Jewish kid.
Yeah, the other one.
Because
they both had but the one with the big glasses.
Yeah. The mouthy kid. He's the only one I don't remember anything happening to.
Wasn't his thing the clowns?
No, I'm talking about before the house.
Yeah, but that
like everything, like they all have like some kind of event that happens to him.
It was him that was the pyramid of balloons.
No, that was the kid with the leper. Because he fell down and like the leper hands him the pill and he runs around the house and so he's behind the house. And then like the leper's gone and he turns and there's Pennywise talking to him.
I don't know, maybe he didn't have anything, but everybody else should have. And their stupid fight in the street outside the house is stupid.
Well, like everyone has had one. Like the black kid, he had the one where it was like the slaughterhouse looking thing.
Yeah.
The girl had the like the hair and the blood coming out. Our main male character had the brother incident like 3 different times. It's fucking ridiculous. The Jewish kid had the painting attack him in the study. The kid with the inhaler and that shit, which I still don't understand why a parent would ever want to do that anyways, was the leper.
Yeah.
And that's everybody but the mouthy kid. Like the mouthy kid never had one.
Guess maybe not.
Because the only one past that point was the kid that got killed in the sewer, like one of the guys, the bully guys.
Yeah. Richie. It's Richie. Is the mouthy kid.
And maybe I'm just stupid and I don't remember.
I don't know. I'm trying to remember too what happened to Richie, but yeah, except for the house. But once the house happens, it doesn't.
Yeah,
doesn't
like
matter.
that event kind of solidifies the fact that there is evil shit going on that is trying to kill us, and we need to do something about it.
But even like the blood, like he doesn't want to believe the blood.
Well, he wasn't in there.
But yeah, but everybody else was.
Yeah.
And he should, and they have a trash bag full of bloody everything from cleaning it up. They could show him that even if he didn't go into the house. So
now that's something that I was a little interested in is the dad noticed nothing.
Yeah.
But for some reason the other kids do.
Because they've seen Pennywise.
But Pennywise and capital evil
Mhm.
will attack anybody.
Yeah, but I guess you wouldn't want people in the same situation to both be aware unless you could turn one of them. And also, you don't want the dad to know because the dad is creating fear in her.
Okay,
And
see,
so
I
the dad
was
is
leaning
making
towards
food
that, but
by just leaving him alone. Which I get it. Now, are all of the adults just dicks, or is Pennywise influencing everyone a little bit in order to affect the kids?
Well,
It seems like they have to just be for real though, because the kids aren't like, my dad's acting weird. He's never acted like this before.
the only thing is, like, of all of the adults, there's only 3 that I have any problem with. There is the rapist dad.
Uh-huh.
There is the extremely obnoxiously overprotective mother.
Mm-hmm.
And then there is the almost pedophilic pharmacy runner. Listen, bro, listen. You look like Clark. Who does Clark fuck?
I know, but she starts it.
She does start it, and instead of being an actual responsible adult, he goes along with it.
He does look a lot like Christopher Reeve.
He kind of did.
He does. Which it can't be because he's dead, right?
Yeah.
So. Yeah. But yeah, so rapist dad has just always been a rapist then.
You'll always be my little girl, won't you?
I mean, not that it's not creepy, but it's just like that it takes her that she's never kicked him in the balls before. Yeah. Like, it took this long.
There was no killer clown aspect.
No, there was no killer clown, but
she did knock him out really well. I'll give her props on that.
Do you think he's still alive?
I do think he is still alive. I think it's a little bit quick in these events because it feels like attempted bathroom rape, knock him the fuck out, get abducted by Pennywise, immediately get out of sewer after dealing with this, and then telling everybody that I'm moving to live with my aunt.
Well, the end scene is weird anyway because she's like, did she have a
weird
dream
visions?
that was like a vision of the next movie? Because I don't know why that's there.
Yeah.
Because there's been no establishment that anybody has visions of anything, and then she's like, I saw us as our parents' age and we were fighting again, and it's like, it's terrible. Like, why is this here? And also they waited a month to make a blood oath after the thing happened. It's like, because that's one of the, there's a goofy thing.
That is right. It has been a month because they had the September card.
Yeah. It's one of those dumb thing that happens in movies that's artistically interesting but realistically bogus.
Yeah.
Where people will be having a conversation and will transition locations between scenes and the conversation doesn't stop.
Yeah.
And so it happens as one continuous thing for us and seems like for them, but much time has passed. And so it almost seems like that, like, oh, well, we got out of the sewer and then we didn't talk to each other for a month. And then we met in the field to talk about what happened and make a blood oath.
Well, I think the problem I have with that one is, after realizing that it's been an actual month, is where did she get was it a dream that she had recently? Was she trying to formulate words to explain what she saw while she was floating?
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
The most likely is that it was while she was floating, but then
it took a month to figure out how to explain it.
Yeah, it's because that's what it starts out as. So it's hard to explain. I don't really remember very much. I'm like, oh, she's talking about when she was floating. And then it's like September. And I'm like, what? It's been a month. And then she's like, and I saw us as adults. What are you talking about? And
it's a bit ridiculous.
It is. It's kind of ridiculous.
It's kind of ridiculous.
Kind of ridiculous.
Okay, now the floating part. They do a great job leading you into thinking about floating in water. The boat floats. Got to return the boat. Got to get the stuff to make the boat float. floating in the water down the sewer, going to all these various areas, and you'll float too. And I'm just thinking, well, you have the fat kid. Normally, unless you're just really, really bad, unintentionally, most people don't have the choice. If you are at that big, normally you float automatically just because of how buoyancy works. So I don't think he's worried about floating. But then it's like at the end, people are literally just floating. Explain that shit to me.
Magic. Well, that's not even the worst part, is because after Pennywise goes back down the hole, then they say, oh, look, the kids are floating down. But then we don't see them actually make it to the ground, and then September. And we never hear anything about it again. So it's like, so were they still alive up there? Or did the bodies come down and they're all dead because they got soul sucked? Or what? It's such an unsatisfying resolution because there's so much left undone.
Well, that was something, because we get to see like heads floating in the water while they're traversing. And from what I gathered, from what I am putting together, my perspective of this is that this evil doesn't actually eat these kids or anybody. He just kind of adopts them, probably drains them of their soul over a period of time. And they physically rot away. And that's probably what happens, is like he has to collect so many to last him, and it takes about 27 years, and then it runs out, and then he's got to get more.
So they're supposed to stay floating up there to feed him while he's down in the hole.
Yeah. Something like that. Because, like he supposedly drains something from her or whatever, the whole hypnotized mouth, ooh, look what's inside, hear voices, and then
her
she
eyes
just
are glazed over,
and then she just starts floating. But they pull her down and they wake her up, and she's back to normal now, supposedly. I don't know if that's going to leave some everlasting effect on her or whatever. I don't know. I don't remember the second.
Apparently she had a vision.
Fucking visions and shit, man. And so with that in mind, I'm thinking about, what if it's just that he drains the soul from them, and they're just left floating up there. That way they're not littering all over the place, because most of the time people don't bother looking up. So if anyone was ever to stumble across this area, they'll just see a pile of junk, not exactly a floating pile of bodies. But then there are like the decapitated heads that are floating around in the water in the sewer.
Are they though, or are those fake just to scare them?
See, I figured those were real, because at this point there isn't an extra need to scare some of these kids. Like, I couldn't tell. Maybe those were supposed to be heads that were infected looking, because that's the kid who's like, oh, diseases and uncleanliness. I don't know. That's not something I remember directly, but I kind of felt like those were supposed to be heads from people who were captured previously.
Yeah. How does the one kid, Eddie, I guess, was that Eddie or Stanley? How did he get so far away?
I have no idea.
In the sewer while they were fighting the mean kid.
Well, because like I saw, like there was like something that kind of appeared around, and then he kind of turned, and he's like, "Holy shit!" And then magically, jump cut later, he's far enough in the sewer while all this stuff is still happening.
Yeah.
And then he blames everyone else for leaving him.
Yeah.
Like, are you stupid? Like, at least they saved your ass.
It takes him so long to get to him. Like, he's made it so far away.
Well, that's something that doesn't make sense. Is he covered so much distance so quickly compared to what they did. But it's one of those things where you shouldn't complain because you did it yourself, and they did save you.
Yeah. I also think that sometimes they they get a little too telegraphy with like, oh, something's scary about to happen because there's a big swell of music, and it's like you could have just let something scary happen, and I think it would have been scarier, because when the music starts to swell, I'm like, oh, okay, here comes something, and then I'm ready for it by the time it gets there, rather than being scared.
Well, see, that's one of the things I had mentioned is at the beginning of the movie they don't harp that as much. Things just kind of happen.
Yeah. Well, and even though it's kind of weird in a realistic way, why is she playing creepy music on the piano?
Yeah.
That they do have that be where the music is coming from, rather than just we're playing creepy piano music because creepy things are happening.
Yeah.
That they anchor it in the world. It makes it kind of okay, and then you stop thinking about it as creepy piano music.
But then, like, as they pushed along in the movie, it became more of that type of trope. Yeah. Now, one of the things that was good is after she knocks her dad out and then turns and there he is. I don't know why he's like attached to the ceiling. Yeah, I just guess we needed it because of our lower camera angle looking at her. But that was something, you know.
Yeah, because they didn't telegraph it coming.
No, and it's like bam, there it was. Like shit, and like that's one of the good ones.
Yeah,
because I don't remember if I jumped on that one or not, but like I could feel it.
But even just when Georgie goes down to the basement, and there's the fake scare of the eyes in the dark that turn out to be the light bulbs. But then there's also like a big swooshy kind of sound just before they cut out of the scene that seems like it's supposed to be something real.
Yeah.
And so I guess maybe Pennywise actually is in the basement, which I kind of didn't like, because it seems like, well, this part, you could have gotten away with this part being just like, oh, kids are scared of stuff because it's creepy and this is the basement.
Unexplained shapes and sounds.
But then there's actually real stuff to be scared of too, and you'd never know which is which. Like, am I just being scared because there was a shadow, or is there really Pennywise over there and I just don't know yet? And so having it be, if something is scary, it's always the presence, I think weakens that a little bit too, because then it's like, oh, looks like something scary, and here comes a real thing.
Well, it gets to the point where not only do you think the characters should constantly watch their back, but you expect something to be in every scene.
Mm-hmm.
Where, you know, like it's like, oh, he could be anywhere and he can show up at any time and all this stuff, and then you kind of expect it constantly.
Mm-hmm. And
so when it does happen, if it's not done good, then oh well.
Yeah, and like, well, I figured he was there anyway.
Like,
which the having you be on edge like all the time, like, is he over there? Is he over there? When is he going to show up? Could be positive, I guess, too. But the only time that doesn't happen is when they go to the quarry lake.
Yeah.
Like, that scene just seems like, all right, we're just going to hang out with the kids for a while. And there's not really anything
that
scary.
Scene was absolutely hilarious.
Yeah.
It was great.
It was a great sequence.
Like, then the girl just shows up, calls him wusses, takes her dress off, just fucking jumps in. They're all in their underwear. It's all really silly. And then they just can't help but to stare.
Yeah.
And then the instant she turns over, and it's like, oh no, guys, we're gonna get caught. Let's be nonchalant about it. And then Mouthy Kid's like, I'm gonna make jokes.
Yeah.
Like, oh, come on, guys, come on. But you know, that's normal young people behavior.
Yeah.
And so like I didn't. It felt like they were actually kids.
Part. Yeah, it helps to make them feel real. But then when they fight about stupid stuff, it's like, no, come on, you're the group of kids, like, you're on the adventure now, like, it's too late for you to have questions, just do the stuff you're supposed to do. And then that they go for like weeks between when they do the last thing and then when it gets where they can't do it because she disappears, that they're just all like, yeah, you know, we just all almost got murdered in a house by an evil force, but we'll just go back to our lives. Everything will be fine.
Well, see, that's
we won't
something
tell anybody. And
is that's another problem, is the passage of time between certain
there's
events.
A lot of structural problems.
Yeah, and okay, so kid that needs inhaler. That's probably why he needed an inhaler all the time, because it didn't work.
Yeah.
So he breaks his arm, and then mom freaks the fuck out, and then blames it on the kids because they're little monsters. And nothing's ever explained on why she's this way.
Because the adults are bad guys.
Because the adults.
That's just it. They're all
adults-
just bad. They suck, and there's no reason.
And so we don't get any form of time between that moment when it's like they all kind of break up. And whenever she does get abducted.
Yeah.
Like that little period of time, like we know it happens, they show us these little scenes. But all of that could have happened in one day.
Yeah.
Because it does not take a week or a month or any. You can go to the doctor and have them reset and cast your arm in like 2 hours.
Yeah. But it seems like sometime, like at least a week or something. It's really hard to say, but they.
I'm also surprised that it left them alone for that long.
Yeah. It doesn't. See, that's part of what I mean. Like it has a lot of good pieces.
Yeah.
But sometimes the way the pieces are put together is not that great. And it's like, how did we get from here to there? How did the kid get way over there? How long has this been from this to that? They didn't talk about this until a month after.
Yeah, there's just some things that I think got sloppy on, and that's why like we'll run into these parts that are subpar.
Yeah. And I think the worst thing is just that it isn't scary.
Huh. It's got some really cool shit in it though. I like the whole like the skin's ripping off and it shows you like a reptilian hand with claws thing, underneath it. And he just cuts the fat kid just right across the belly.
Yeah.
Kind of makes that whole knife cut seem unimportant in comparison. Because that's something. It's like town bully tries to carve his name into a fat kid's stomach, and they lose their minds just to try to get him supplies to clean him up. But no, whenever it cuts him, he looks like ground beef, but he'll be okay.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the things that's even worse about Fat Mom is that she's doing all of this finger wagging and yelling at them about how bad they are and that they're hurting her precious son. And Fat Kid is just like his shirt's all ripped and bloody and she it's like maybe there's something actually going on here and you should be a real person for a second.
Yeah.
That's I think what bothers me so much about it is that the kids are so real and so believable as actual kids, and then everyone else is impossible. And that like they're so extreme, all of them are so extreme that it's hard to believe that the world.
Now
and you only get one extreme element. You can only really have one like this thing is over here element in a story before it get or things that you can have a single thing like this takes place in the future and we have like faster than light drive, and so a bunch of stuff comes out of that you can extrapolate, but then it doesn't work in something like Looper where it's like, oh, time travel exists. And also, it turns out some people are telepaths, but we didn't realize that until like 100 years from now. And so you can't have two unbelievable concepts at the same time. And so it's like, okay, we have evil, dark presence of it. And then also all of the all of the parents are just maniac, insane people. And so it's too many unbelievable things to believe, when one or the other would have been fine. But just parents that suck is not a very interesting thing to base a story on, and so having the evil presence that sometimes looks like a clown is the better choice, and you need to drop the parents part.
Well, see, that's something, is I keep trying to think of what parents. The lady, her dad's a rapist. The black kid, his parents are dead, and we only see his grandfather like one time. And he gives us that foreshadow to get the bolt between the eyes kind of bit.
Yeah.
But like there's nothing wrong there. then we get our main character, and like we don't run into the mom ever. We just run into the dad the one time, and he's like, "If you want to take something from my office, ask."
Yeah,
and, like,
but he's
that
still
scene-
not dealing with the death very well after what seems to be a year.
Well, I think that's something that I'm not gonna fault him on. I just think that he was a little too harsh with it, and used it as like, before your mother sees this, like, hey, no, but watch this. Like, okay, we understand, but we already checked that area. He wasn't there. Go ahead and put this away, because if your mother sees this, she's gonna freak out.
They don't seem to have ever really investigated the sewers, though, or they would have found the giant tower of junk and floating bodies. So
Yeah.
they really didn't do the... So he works for the fire department or something, I guess?
I don't fucking know.
I don't know why I think that. It just seemed like that for some reason. But they don't...
Like the Jewish kid, like his dad's a rabbi, and
Is
like
that his dad?
That's what he
he
says.
does say. He says the son of a rabbi.
The
Yeah,
son of a rabbi can't even read the Torah, and
Yeah.
and that is the thing, is like we get that one little bit where he's just like, put it back in my study, and then the mom that we all don't like,
Mhm.
and she's just kind of a bitch.
Yeah,
And
well,
then-
it's levels of it. Like, some of them are extreme, and some of them are just
But then
ordinary mean.
Richie doesn't seem to have any parents,
Yeah.
and so I'm wondering if he doesn't exist, because
I'm
he is
pretty sure he exists.
he is
but...
he is the most oddball of all of them. Because out of everything that happens to each character, he is the only one that doesn't make any real footprint in any of this.
I guess.
Like, he's the one that tries to break them up, which succeeds. We never see anything for his parents or his home. Like, they only find him at that arcade the one time. They never have to go pick him up. There was the thing about being missing. Like, there's all of this shit. And that flyer they found was different than the one that had been put up. It was much larger.
Yeah, it was different than the ones from the other real kids.
So I'm wondering if he's supposed to be a remnant from, like, a previous time. But he fits in.
I don't know. If it is, that's something they invented for this version.
Maybe.
Because he's a real person in the other versions of the story. So, but I
Then
don't
why
know, it
didn't
might
he
be-
get any love?
I don't know. Well, I mean, really, at least he has stuff to do. Like, the black kid is just barely in the movie at all.
Yeah.
He's in it for a period, and then he goes away for a long time, and then they just get him back for the end.
Well, see,
And-
that's I like him as that character, because I can understand, like, the trauma of losing your parents right there at the fire, and then you're working with your grandfather at a lamb slaughterhouse.
Yeah. Well, see, I
And-
think that's why I think that the granddad is so mean and harsh, because it's like, hey, my parents died in a fire on the other side of the door that I was on the other side of. Like, don't be quite so hard on the kid.
Yeah.
If he doesn't want to murder sheep. So, like, give him a break.
Delicious.
It's so.
But he does, because that scene. I think that's why I like him so much. Is because the granddad does kind of back off a little bit, just a little bit, because we do have to move on, and then they cut up the lamb, and he's got to go deliver it. And the kid wouldn't have to worry about the town bully if he would have just done his job quickly. Got up to the door, took the meat out, started walking inside the business. Because once he's inside the business, the kid wouldn't bother him.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's supposed to be nothing ever happens to bully kid because his dad is a cop. But they don't ever really establish that. It's not like anybody ever says, there's no like, oh, well, he'll just get off because his dad's the police chief or whatever. And
Doesn't save you from an ass whooping.
well, no, it shouldn't. And because his dad is like, no, you don't get to do stupid stuff. The one time that he actually reacts to anything, and other people see stuff happen. Like, they're standing there at the school, the police themselves. The guy that owns the butcher sees him almost run him over with the car, and the carving his name into the kid's stomach is super extreme.
We'll see.
And how much are the townspeople going to put up with, well, I just don't do any, like, your kid is guilty of assault, attempted vehicular assault, probably stuff we don't even know about, reckless driving. There's a bunch of things that your kid is guilty of. Like, your kid and his whole gang should be in jail. And especially the carving thing. And they try to make the other characters a little bit more sympathetic because he starts to carve into him, and the other kids are like, well, wait a minute. But then he's still gonna burn them with the can of hairspray or whatever it is. So they're all still, none of them are good. He's just the most extreme.
Now, one of the things that you had mentioned about was Pennywise kind of manipulating all of the adults.
Yeah,
because that was something I was thinking about whenever they're carving into Ben, and the car drives by, and he looks in the back of it, and a balloon just pops up in the back seat.
So those old folks aren't real.
Maybe not.
Or they are real, but they're being made not to pay attention.
Maybe.
By the presence.
That would cause more fear.
It would.
Because we do see that when the bullies are beating up the black kid, Pennywise is in the fucking grass, like eating the arm of that one kid he already got earlier.
Yeah. But, well, because the first half of that moment when the car drives by, like, the old folks just look at him, and then they just look away, and they just keep driving by, and I'm like, everyone in this town sucks. And then the balloon goes up in the back windshield. And but that's the only time we ever see that.
Yes.
It's the only time we ever see a balloon that isn't followed by Pennywise appearing. So, or something that we know is the presence, because there's a balloon in the library, and then it turns out that it's the headless guy from, I guess he's from the explosion. He's a steel worker or something.
No, that was the kid from the Easter thing, because he was collecting the eggs.
Oh, it was a kid. It was a kid from the Easter. It's from the steel.
From the steel working explosion.
Steelworks. How did the steelworks explode? What do they use that explodes at the steelworks?
I mean, like, it'd be different if it was to burn down. It'd burn down really slowly, but still, explosions.
Explode and just take out the whole circus and the festival and everything.
Who would put that by the steelwork place anyway?
I don't know. It seems like, and we never go to like the wreckage of the steelworks or anything, so we don't know where it's located in town, unless it's where the quarry is, but you don't really, I guess they could be mining ore to turn into steel, and then that's why the quarry is empty now, because there's no steelworks anymore. But
now it wouldn't have affected this situation. It wouldn't, because when I watch a movie, I kind of have to judge people and their actions based off of what I think is right, mostly because of what I would have done in that situation. And of course, it's all like, I'm not actually in that situation, so it's easier to say it than to do it. But ever since The Grudge came out in 2004, my first and immediate thought in any of these kind of situations where it's like, yeah, that house, evil. Burn it down. Burn it to ash. Especially with the fact that there's so much dead grass in the yard, you could easily just tinderbox that whole thing. And the fact that this doesn't even come, like, it's not even a thought to these kids' minds, I'm like, okay, back when I was 11, I probably wouldn't have thought of that. But, ever since The Grudge, because that was the only way to ever stop it, was to burn the house down that it took place in. Like, that's my go-to thought. That's my go-to thought. Structure containing evil. It's about to be a pile of ash containing evil.
Yeah. They just really never had much plan at all, though.
No, none of them had a fucking plan.
Just go into the house. We're not even going to pick up, like, a baseball bat or something, just in case. We're just going to walk in and just check it out.
Yeah. And that doesn't make any sense. Like, how are you going to stop this thing? Like, you are a small child. You have no idea what you're doing. And that's something. It's like, I would have liked to have seen Mouthy Kid, Richie, say, it's like, hey, instead of going in there right now, why don't we just form a plan? Come up with an idea, like what we're going to do. Like, how are we going to stop him? Mm-hmm. I would have liked to have seen him try to go to, like, to temple and seeing if they could got some kind of holy water equivalents there. Like, that would have been kind of interesting since that's already a location that's been established.
Yeah, use Rabbi Dad.
Yeah, like Rabbi Dad. We need like some holy salt or something. Can you get us some of that? Like, we need that good stuff. We're gonna go fight spirits, evil clown people.
Yeah.
What? Just do it, Dad, please. I'm a man now.
Now this is really super minor and nitpicky, but just because most of the rest of it is, independent of what I guess is probably just editing problems, because the adults or people who haven't been touched by Pennywise can't see the things that happen, that the dad doesn't have any idea what's going on, but you still see and hear his boots squish the blood around on the floor. Like, that was something like, I would have rather you did him as a separate element on a clean floor, so he's walking on what to her looks like the bloody floor, but it isn't, like, because so there's like a split in the reality where he isn't even really in the same, like, the blood is not there for him at all, because and that would make it more unsettling, where it's like they don't have any idea. There's no way to show them. There's no way to tell them what's happening. There's no help. And so it makes it more necessary that the kids have to do it themselves, and that there's no one that they can share it with.
Yeah, that was the problem I had with the water dripping from the ceiling onto the kid's face while he sleeps.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, because, okay, if I'm a child and my house is leaking water on my face, I'm going to go tell mom and dad that the roof is leaking.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to just get a bucket, because it'd be different if it was somewhere else in my room, and it probably's happened before, because we chose not to put the bed there because there's potential leaking there. But nope, it happens right there on his face. And like, it starts off, and like the first like drops we see kind of look like blood because they're supposed to be dropping on her, like the picture of her with the red hair and everything.
Yeah.
But then like afterwards, it's like, no, it's just plain water. It's not blood dripping from the roof. But he just picks up the fucking bucket. He's just like, oh, I'm just gonna grab a bucket. Like, really? And you're just gonna put the bucket on your bed? Then what are you gonna like? Are you gonna sleep on the foot of the bed? What are you gonna do now?
Are you gonna shove the bed around the room, or
Yeah. Like, I would have just woken up my mom and dad, be like, Mom, Dad, get them to take care of this, because I don't want to move that heavy bed by myself. But then, like, so like the little brother's there, and that's something I always hate when it comes to a character, is the fact that they know evil and bad shit's happening, and then, hey, my brother who is supposed to be dead is magically in the house now?
Mm-hmm.
Explain, like there shouldn't be even a thought of this could really be him.
No.
Like, there shouldn't even be that thought at all.
This is evil.
Well, even if it was good, it wouldn't matter. It's the fact that it's something that should not have happened, should not be happening, but is happening, and maybe I shouldn't go it alone.
But they know that evil is happening.
Yeah.
So,
and the fact that it's like
happens that can't be really happening, it's probably the evil out to get you. So,
I mean, now I've only had to do it one time, and it was on a Christmas Eve. No, it was a Christmas morning. But mom and dad wouldn't wake up. And so I went into the kitchen and I got 2 pans, and I just walked in their room, turned the lights on, and started beating the pans together until they got up. And so I know personally I will do that. Like, if I have to wake up the adults, I will do it. Because that's some crazy evil shit, and I'm in my pajamas and I have no weapon.
Yeah.
But then that happens, and so he follows him down into the cellar, and his brother's, why is there all this water in the cellar? And his brother's still wearing the same yellow rain jacket, and he's hiding in the corner. And his brother starts talking to him like, I'm sorry, I couldn't get the boat. Like, it's okay. It's okay. I don't need the boat. And then his face starts to fucking rot off. And then Pennywise just kind of appears out of the water, and I'm sorry, like, nope, I'm gone. I'm done. I'm done with this shit. I'm already walking back up the steps. I don't want to even watch it. I want to watch it. No. Because I'm not stupid.
Mm-hmm.
And then it cuts to sometime well into the day. It's not morning. There's already plenty of sun.
Mm-hmm.
And then he just now starts talking about this to his friends. Like, really? That would have been the first thing out of my fucking mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the first thing. Because I'm not sleeping. I'm not sleeping at all for the rest of the night.
Yeah. I mean, and I know that it's 1989, but we see that they have phones.
Yeah.
So you just start calling all of the rest of the group. Like,
immediately.
Pennywise is in my basement. What are we going to do about this?
That's something else, is he can be in more than one place at a time.
Yeah.
Because in the house, he's downstairs and upstairs simultaneously.
Because he's not really Pennywise. It's an
Yeah.
evil force that manifests into things. So,
But it's all interconnected.
yeah.
Like, it shares, like, one constant thought.
So
that was pretty interesting.
it's just like, you probably should warn the others that something is happening, but no,
nope.
we're just going to wait.
Lack of communication causes problems, people.
Yeah.
It's like
I know,
a
that's
common.
always
It's like a common workplace comment. Like, you'd think anyone of any age to have a job would know this.
Well, they're kids; they don't have jobs.
Well, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, when part 2 comes out, if they're still not communicating, someone needs to, like, beat them with, like, a hose.
Well, that's
Give them a
one
bottle of lotion.
That's one thing that, and of course, I really appreciate the Final Destination movies, but that's at least something that they don't fall into as much horror movie stupidity as they do fall into, is that at a certain point in all of them, they realize, oh, something is going on. We better start finding the other people who were there when the thing that should have killed all of us didn't kill us. And we should all get together and figure this out, and maybe board ourselves up in a house, or maybe try to run out of town, or maybe go to the morgue guy and find out what he knows, because he seems to have been the only one that was there when this happened this other time in the first movie. And so they get together and they start figuring it out, and they let people know as soon as they realize something is happening.
Yeah.
And so they don't fall into that bit of horror movie stupidity. But so often, that's what it is. And in other movies, too, it's like, this problem wouldn't be a problem if you would just talk to each other for like 30 seconds. And then the rest of the movie goes away. And that, because then the rest of the story doesn't happen, is not a justification, because you can have... That just means you told a lazy story.
Yeah.
If you have to use lazy methods to make your story happen, you should
switch it up a little bit,
a better
fix
story.
the problem, move right along.
And so, yeah, so there are several weird times like that where they go, it's the conversation over different places kind of stuff.
I wonder if the girl still smokes.
Oh, yeah.
Because we see her, like, only smoke twice, even though she steals a pack of smokes. Don't smoke, kids.
So how do we feel about stars?
I don't know to give it a strong 4 or a weak 5. Because I really enjoyed watching this movie. I'm going to give it a weak 5. Now, don't you me. Like I said, I really enjoyed watching this. Like, we know it's got its little bits and pieces where it messes up, but still.
I enjoyed it, but it does have some weird structure problems, and I'm disappointed at not being scared. So 3 is too low. If we gave half stars, it would be 3.5, but I can't do that, so I guess I'll cheat and say that it's a weak 4.
Okay.
It's way overpraised. I feel like.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I ain't gonna be like, it's the best thing ever.
No, I mean, it would be amazing if it was. I would love it if it was. I'm not saying like, oh, everybody thinks this is the best thing ever, so I have to not think that. It isn't that. It's just like, I want it to be better than it is. I wanted to be scared. I wanted to walk out with I just saw puppies' strangled eyes that other people were, but it just...
But unfortunately,
it just didn't happen.
we were not that susceptible to its pretend horror.
Yeah. Well, that is one other thing that I wanted to just mention briefly is that many people seem to be under the impression that they watched the original miniseries, and that's what made them afraid of clowns.
Yeah,
And that seems backwards to me. I feel like if you were scared by the original miniseries, it's because you were afraid of clowns in the first place and just didn't realize it because you hadn't had much experience of clowns or hadn't been around that many clowns or hadn't seen a particularly creepy one. But that it's already there, because if you're not scared of clowns, it doesn't, like, just because this clown is scaring people doesn't make you scared of other clowns that aren't murdery. So it doesn't it's I feel like people have it the wrong way around. Because lots of people are scared of clowns. I'm not fond of them, but they don't make me run and scream. But other stuff does.
They're not your spiders.
No, but but the point is that it's not a clown. It's a great evil force that only the galactic world turtle can fight. So
Now that's something else that I had mentioned off the show. Is there's a lot of fear, like personal fear based kind of things going on here, and some of it's a little more recognizable than others, especially per event that happens. Now, I don't know if it is fear, but like whenever we have, God, what's the name of the main guy? I keep forgetting it. Georgie's older brother,
Bill.
Like with Bill, I don't know if it's fear for the loss of his brother or if it's like something else that's causing it, because like that's the only thing that it ever shows him is like, look, it's your little brother. Like he's not scared of his little brother.
No.
He's just sad because he lost his little brother and he probably feels responsible for it. But that's not fear. Now with the Jewish kid and the weird ass painting, like that may have been something that was just initial unease that was escalated to fear because it was used in a vicious sense. Like, oh, now it's not in the painting. We don't know how long that painting's been there, but now it's like huge and it's spooking him. But the one that really stands out to me is the kid at the slaughterhouse, because like that's very distinctive.
And it's very personal.
Yeah.
Because it's his parents burned in a fire, and so that's what he's imagining. Yeah. Because some of the others are much more impersonal. It's just like generally clowns, or that it's, I don't know, disease or sickness or whatever. It's not, because he never met a guy with leprosy before. He was never actually sick, or he's just been scared by his mom into thinking that he's sick, but it's all fake.
But even with the girl, like that whole bit was it's like the stuff, because like the blood and the hair are the illustrations between becoming older and her not liking her father, because she's old enough to have a period, because that's like when we see her is she's buying tampons.
Yeah. That I love that moment, just how long she just stands there looking, and it's just in one, just a long moment where nothing happens, and then she like just reaches for one because she just figures, well, I don't know, I'll just pick one.
Yeah. But then there's like, that's when she does get back home and she runs in, like her creepy father, and he caresses her hair.
Yeah.
And so she chops her hair off. But then like that's what comes out of the sink is blood and hair.
Yeah.
So maybe there's like a fear of growing older.
Or
I don't know.
Not being able to get rid of the things that are
plaguing her.
Yeah, like she cut off her hair because her dad touched her hair in a weird way, and then the hair comes back.
Yeah.
And so it may be two things. So like the hair is father particular, and then the blood is more just generally afraid of weird stuff that's happening.
Yeah, because there doesn't seem to be a mom there to help her out.
No, there does not.
At least the aunt should be able to provide better assistance.
Yeah.
Now the kid, the fat kid, that's the one I'm not 100% sure about because he's the new kid on the block.
Oh yeah,
Which they
I
make
did want to
some-
talk about that.
They make some pretty classic jokes.
I've totally forgot about that. The New Kids on the Block were not an unpopular band.
No.
So why is it something embarrassing that he's listening to? Is it because mostly girls liked New Kids and
I
not
don't know.
boys? Or why is it such an embarrassment for him to be listening to...
Maybe he's too old to be listening to New Kids on the Block. I don't fucking know.
I don't think so.
I didn't
They're
care.
12!
I didn't care about New Kids on the Block. I didn't give a shit.
Well, they were over by the time you were old enough to care, and me too. They were... My sister was into them, but it was... Like there's a bunch of like concerts on TV taped on VHS tapes and stuff just laying around the house. So, they're not laying around the house. They're in boxes, but they're still present in the house. And so, but they were a big deal in the 80s and early 90s. So it just is just like, you can't. It's not like he's not listening to I don't even know what it would be.
Oh, God,
Rusted Root or something would be the equivalent later. So it's like,
I was thinking of that other band that did Mbop. No, but okay, so we have like that little bit. We know that he has feelings for this girl, which is never directly returned except for that one time, the poem shit.
yeah, well, not returned when each other knows,
Yeah.
but she reads the postcard. in
No,
the
I'm saying like
bathtub.
whenever like they pull her down
Yeah.
and like he grabs her by the face, he kisses her, and then she wakes up, and then she just kind of knows, and then she says the line, and then he finishes it like that. That's what I'm referring to.
Yeah.
But like the only thing that I remember directly happening to him was in the library, and there's nothing like he's not afraid of libraries.
No.
So like that's one of those things. It's like almost everybody has like a personal fear that is fed on, except for the fat kid and Bill. And Bill's is more direct just to his past because he's the one that he was the last one to see his brother. You know,
Yeah,
that kind
his
of
isn't
shit.
even really a fear. It's just a trauma.
Yeah, and then like what's going on with the library kid? Like what's up with this?
I guess he's just... Yeah, because it's personal to him in that he knows about it because of the history, but it isn't something related to him. The movement on that thing was odd, too. Like the headless body thing. Because it still has the rest of the body there. It just doesn't have a head, but it was almost like it couldn't walk. And it wasn't really doing like a J-horror jerking kind of thing. But it was just a weird way that it was animated. Yeah, they don't do as much as they could have with the personal fears kind of thing. So we'll see how they do with part two, but or chapter 2? Chapter 2. Didn't they call it chapter 1?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's all we have to say about it. We'll see you then.
Later.
Don't take your kids to this one.
Well, it looks like on 9/11 we record 2-hour episodes.
Yeah.
Independent of the topic. I don't know what's wrong with me. I was smelling pumpkin spice earlier. I don't think I had a stroke or something.
Are you
over
about to
here.
turn into a basic bitch?
I don't know, and I don't even have it handy. So,
Have you seen into the cabinets? Like,
I know.
there's like 1,000 little pumpkin treats in there now.
Oh yeah, that's right. There are, because Matthew and his fine. Or are those yours?
They're his.
Okay. It's like you didn't buy pumpkin spice little.
No, but I will
pumpkin-shaped
eat them.
Cake
I
things.
will eat every one of those little bastards. They're delicious. Oh no, I think I'm turning into a basic bitch too. Next thing you know, I'll have those fluffy fur boots and leggings.
Yeah. I'm gonna put that at the end probably, but I'm not gonna say because that's a disaster.